I'm so glad you can join me here today, and I hope you find today's session useful and beneficial as a reminder. And I'd also like to thank you for joining me here and giving me your time today. When I was a child, when I was very young, I used to read some books that were interesting. So basically what you do is in the book you get a choice of what you want to do next. So you choose whatever you want to do, and then all through the book you choose your next move and your next move. And whatever you choose will determine the end of the story. So essentially you make your own story. And if you choose a different move, you end up with a different ending. And to be honest, that is like life. So in life we make choices. And when we make a certain choice in life, for example, which university to go to, or which city to live in, or which person to marry, all of these choices have knock-on effects, because that choice will determine what happens in the future, what direction our life takes, and what it will look like, and what our end will be like. And so these choices are very important, because obviously if you think of every choice builds up and builds up until the end. So one small choice and your whole life might turn a different direction. And so when you think about it, making a choice in life is a big deal, because essentially you are determining what your life will eventually look like by making a single choice. That is scary, and that is very, in terms of, there's a lot of pressure in making those choices, because if you make a wrong choice, the output of the choice, the result of the choice will have a completely different trajectory in your life, and your life will go in a very different direction that you might not want to go to. You might not want it to go to, but it still does, because you've made a choice that was detrimental, for example. But really, I think we should take a step back. So that's an interesting way to look at life, because you obviously make choices and it's important to make the right choice. But really, life is more like a journey. So it's not about making the wrong choice versus making the right choice. It's just making a choice, and those choices will essentially inform your future choices. And those choices are a result of the kind of person you are, your life circumstances, what you were forced to do, what you had to do, what you thought was the right thing to do, or even the wrong thing to do and you want to do the wrong thing. Regardless, those are all life circumstances. And if you look at life as a binary black and white, life becomes very difficult. And I found this personally, when you think about the choices you make and you think, oh, if I make the wrong choice, I'm going to end up in a disaster and life is going to be terrible. Life becomes much harder. Living in this way is very hard, very difficult, because you're always thinking about every next move, and you're thinking, oh my God, if I make the wrong choice, my life is screwed. But essentially it isn't screwed, because as long as you're alive, as long as you're breathing, you can still make changes, you can still make corrections, you can still make iterations. And that's why I have made a reframe for myself. So rather than thinking of life as a sum total of my choices, I think of life more like an experiment. So what happens in an experiment? If you go to a chemistry lab, for example, A-levels, GCSE, whatever, and then you see, okay, so you have a hypothesis, and you say, okay, this is my hypothesis and I want to test it. I'll have a control group where I don't make any changes, but I'll have the main experiment where I have my Bunsen burners, I have my chemicals, I have all petri dishes, all of these things where I start doing the experiment. If the experiment goes wrong, if the chemicals that I use are wrong, or if the chemicals I use don't give me the reaction I want, what do? I just go ahead and change my chemicals, or I'll change my hypothesis and say, actually, this doesn't work, so let's try a different hypothesis. And that's how it is. That's what an experiment is all about. If life is like this, then the pressure is then removed from us. It's no longer about making the right choice. It's more about making a choice that works. And it might be that you make a choice that doesn't work, and that's why it's an experiment. So you go back, you change the choice, and then you try and experiment again. And if it doesn't work, you experiment again. And it's all about the sum total of the experiments you make in life. It's all about failures in life are not this big deal that, oh my God, I made a failure of my life, and this is a failure. The way I see it, the reframe that I've made is a failure is a failed experiment. So if my experiment failed, all I'll do is try a different experiment until I succeed. And that's all life should be. It's all about making those experiments, failing, failing, and failing again, and then eventually you'll succeed. Because the way the universe works, the way, if you believe in God, the way God works is, as long as you open your heart up and you try and pursue the thing you want to pursue, you will no doubt get whatever you're pursuing. I have no shadow of doubt. I know this personally from my life, and I have no shadow of doubt that the universe will make sure, God will make sure you achieve what you want to achieve. But you have to put in the work, the hard work, to be able to achieve what you're looking for. But also, on the flip side, you don't want to be too stressed about it. Like, if you start perfecting your life in that way, life is going to be a disaster. In a way, it's going to be so tough for you to live life, because every moment you're thinking of there's an English word for this. It's called catastrophizing. Catastrophizing is when you think of the worst possible outcomes based on the choices you make. And that is such a difficult way to live, such a terrible way to live, because you no longer enjoy life as a journey. Life is supposed to be a journey. Now, let me bring in a bit of philosophy here. So, Plato. So Plato had something called, it's called Plato's allegory of the cave. So this was actually a conversation between Plato and Socrates, and in Greek philosophy, most of our teachings from Plato come through Socrates, who was his student. So this allegory of the cave is actually told to us by Socrates. So we know of this allegory through Socrates. Anyways, the allegory goes this way. So you have a cave. Let's say you have a cave, and you have prisoners sitting inside the cave, standing inside the cave, and they've been chained. Okay. Now in front of the prisoners is a wall. And on that wall, it's a blank wall, there's nothing. And behind the prisoners, there's a fire, a flame. Over on one side of the cave, which is on the opposite side of where the prisoners are facing, there's a bridge where people cross over with the goods on the back. They're going to and from whatever they're doing there. There's a lot of activity going on. But the prisoners cannot see that, because they're facing the other side, which is the wall of the cave. And all they see is this clean slate of the cave. But then they can see the reflection of the fire into the clean slate of the cave. And when these people move, all they see is the reflections of what it's like. Now, one day, one of these prisoners gets to escape. So his chains come off, and he gets to actually turn around, see the flame, the fire, and then actually come out of the cave and see the whole world outside the cave. Because until this point in time, all the prisoners knew was this cave. The prisoners knew that the only life that is possible, the only truth that is out there, is just the cave. And the flame that shows the shadows, for them that was reality. That was what life was all about. That was the truth. But then when this prisoner went out, he realized actually there's more to this world than just the cave. We're stuck in the cave. All we see is the shadows, where actually there's actual people who make up the shadows. And in fact, besides that, when you go out of the cave, there's a whole world out there waiting for us. And it's beautiful, because when the prisoner who's freed comes back and tells his other fellow prisoners that actually I've seen something marvelous, I've seen a whole world outside, he gets shunned, he gets excommunicated, he gets told that he's a heretic because he is defying the truth that they knew, because they knew the truth, and the truth was the cave is the only thing available. Is reality. The cave is the true life, is the truth. But obviously they didn't know that there's a whole world outside that they've been missing out on, that they had no knowledge of, they had no clue of. And that's because we're stuck in this process where they were just living their life as prisoners. And Plato has for him he talks about the theory of forms and illusions and how we have the empirical data source and all of that stuff. But I don't want to go into a lot of the philosophy of what he was trying to say. All I'm trying to use his allegory of the cave is to show that we are like those prisoners. If you watch The Matrix, you'll know what I'm talking about, because we are stuck in the Matrix and we see truth and reality as one aspect, one glimpse of what it should be like. But actually, there's a lot more out there that we don't even know about. And if we don't make the journey to explore, introspect, to find out, we'll never know what the truth is. So in my life, I have tried to inculcate this. I have tried to iterate and improve and see life as an experiment where I go on this journey. I get out of the cave. I want to see what's up there, because I've seen what's in the cave for so long that I ended up believing that is reality. But actually, there's a whole world out there that I didn't even know about. And it's only now that I'm coming out that I want to see what this whole world is about. And that only happens when I loosen up. I give up this whole sense of control, this whole sense of perfection, and tell myself that life is an experiment. I will try things. If they don't work, I will try something else. If that doesn't work, I'll try something else. And eventually I will reach the destination, which is whatever it has to be, because I don't even know what it is. So, and I think that's a beautiful way to look at life. And I'm going to experiment this experiment, and I'll definitely let you know how it goes. And if you're experimenting this experiment, please do let me know how you found the experiment and how you got into the experiment in the first place. So I hope this has been a useful and beneficial reminder, and I hope you took something from it, and I hope you see life as an experiment and don't take it too seriously. If things don't work out, something else will work out. If something else doesn't work out, something else will work out. Eventually something will work out, and that's what all life is all about. It's all about the journey and the experimentation. So thank you very much for joining me here today. Until next time, I'll see you soon.